I hope everyone's summer is going well. I want to commend any students that are taking summer classes right now, and then any of you that are joining. If you're taking summer classes, that's definitely props to you, because I definitely couldn't do it. So today what I'm going to be going over is a presentation on interviewing. I'm just going to give some real-world tips based on experience, and then from some of the classes that I've attended, some of the tips that they've given me, and then also from my own experience as a manager, I was able to interview people. So it definitely helps you have the other perspective. So an introduction of myself for any new students that are watching. I am Jessa Gramenz. I'm the Director of Communication. It's a new position that I just attained recently, so I'm excited to invest some more in this position and really kind of get everybody collaborating and communicating with one another. I've been with the NCSA for over a year. I joined in April of last year. So far it's been great. I love it. But right now I'm a full-time student at University of North Texas, that is in Denton. But I got my associate's degree at Johnny Logan College in computer forensics and network security. But I'm new to Dallas. I moved here about a year ago. Johnny Logan is in Southern Illinois. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar. It's a 2-year college, so definitely was a great experience to go from a 2-year to a 4-year. So definitely a great money-saving opportunity too. So George, he's also a member of the NCSA. He's on the advisory board. He wrote a great blog article that you can find on cyberstudents.org, where he talks about going from a 2-year to a 4-year, and how it's a great opportunity to save money. So another thing I want to note is that I've been in the cybersecurity field for about 6 months now. I am a cybersecurity operations analyst for a financial corporation in Dallas. So obviously I have real-world tips from that experience, that interview experience, and then also other industry that I've been in. So this presentation is going to be pretty long, so if you can't join all of it, then you can always come back later and view it on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. But I just want to make sure, thank you, Jonathan. I want to make sure and let everybody know, feel free to ask questions. If you have any comments, just go ahead and share, and I'll get to them. If I don't get to them during the video, then I'll come back to them. I'll comment and give you some feedback. So right now, a lot of students, they might be looking for internships, especially because it's the summer, or they might be looking to start a job after graduating. So at some point, you're going to need to interview. Just this morning, I was watching a BuzzFeed video that was talking about if interviews were honest. And it was kind of funny because, as I went through it, I noticed some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. For example, one of them was, the interviewer asked, what questions do you have for me? And the guy, the interviewee was like, oh, I didn't even think of that, and it's one of those things that, the only reason I really know that is just from experience, because I have been asked that before, and at one point in time I just sat there and I was like, oh wow, I don't have any questions, I wasn't prepared. So it's definitely one of those things that you might not think about, but it pays off to be ready with some questions. So you found your dream job and you applied, and they've called you and you have an interview. So now what? This is your first impression with the company, besides obviously when they call you, they check out your resume. So I have a quote from Daily Mail. They did a study on interviewing, and they said 70% of interviewers are going to be swayed by their first impression. So first impressions are really important. And I also pulled up the article because I want to read it and share with you some of the things that I found that were kind of interesting from it. So they said you have about 6 minutes and 25 seconds to make it count. So whenever you're in an interview, they usually make their decision within 6 minutes, which is really quick if you think about it, because I know I've had some interviews that are about 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, especially with IT. The interviews are going to be pretty long, a lot of technical questions. So if you only have 6 minutes, that's not very long. But yeah, so there are a lot of stats on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this link. I'll probably share it after the presentation just because I don't have it pulled up on my phone to share it. But I'll share that link. That way you can kind of look over the different, things they found in their study. So anyway, so if you get one shot, what sets you apart from the other applicants? Because your resume got you this far, but here's where you have to have charisma to kick in, and really you have to be able to communicate and work with the interviewer to get what you both want, to be able to communicate. This is how I'm going to help you facilitate this position that you need filled. So, I know as an introverted person, I know a lot of people in IT are pretty introverted, so it might be kind of hard to get to where you can open up and be really comfortable with the person that's interviewing you. But it's important to get that. You have to be able to open up and talk to them and not be really nervous. And I know that's easier said than done, but honestly, if you can just pretend that you're working with someone that you're really close with, but in a professional manner, it makes it a lot easier. Pretend that they're a colleague or something, someone that you work with, someone you go to school with, and maybe that'll help you a little bit with the nerves. But more on the actual interview later. The most important step, to me, in my opinion, is doing your homework on the company. So you're going to want to research them. Chances are you might have researched before you applied, but if not, you definitely want to before you go in for the interview. So it definitely pays off to do your research, literally, especially if you get the job. So a little bit of effort goes a long way. The National Cybersecurity Student Association presented at the Women in Cybersecurity Conference in Tucson. That was the end of March, beginning of April. And we had a lot of great information in that presentation. That some of it I'm going to share in this presentation, but I just kind of want to share with you guys where you can find that if you want to find some of the resources. It's at cyberstudents.org under resources and then presentation archives. I knew I was going to mess that up. I always mess that word up. One of the topics that we covered was the importance of researching the company, knowing the culture, the size, growth potential. So many other factors are going to impact your day-to-day tasks. Larger companies are going to be more marginalized, whereas a smaller company, you're going to have a lot of different hats. There are going to be many positions that you inherit, and you want to be prepared for that. So knowing what to expect will guarantee some long-term success with the company and satisfaction as well, because obviously you want to be happy where you're at. And I can honestly say where I work, I love my job, I love my company, and I really lucked into my position that it's a perfect fit. So some people don't always get that lucky. Sometimes if you're a fresh graduate, you're just looking for anything, but it definitely helps to know what you're getting into. So, and another thing too is if you can't find it online, the great thing about an interview is this is your opportunity to ask. So, say it's a small company, they don't have an online profile, they're not on Glassdoor. You're able to go and interview them as well, because it's not just do they want you, do you want to work there too? So this is an opportunity where you can ask them, if you can't find it online, ask in the interview. But some resources where you can research the company, you can go to Glassdoor, LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn is a great resource. You can find some of their employees, kind of see what they're sharing, see if they're active. Maybe they're really busy, so there are also reviews on Yelp, maybe company profiles, the company website, word of mouth. Just ask around and see what information you can gather. And you never know, you might end up actually knowing someone that works for the company, and that can be good and bad, I guess, in a way. But it just depends with each situation. But the options for researching companies are pretty endless. But I really couldn't imagine doing it before the internet, which is funny because this, cybersecurity wouldn't exist without the internet. So obviously that's hypothetical, but just think of all the resources we have, appreciate them, and most importantly, use them. Okay, so you know more about the company, you have the time, and you're all set to go to the interview, right? Not yet. So you're going to want to go in and give a good impression. You want to wow them. The goal is for them to forget that they have any other applicants because you're exactly who they're looking for. So my little checklist that I made, some of the things that I looked for whenever I was interviewing, confidence, appearance, timeliness, and these are kind of the basics, but if there's one of those key components that you mess up on or you just completely slack on, that's going to make a big difference. And honestly, you got to the point of an interview, you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste their time. So, you don't want to get to the point where you're in recovery mode. You want to go in solid chance. You don't want to mess anything up by something that you could easily prepare for. So, first thing, timeliness. If you anticipate being late, make sure you call and ask to reschedule if possible, because this will show them that you appreciate their time and that you're prepared, that you understand you can't make this commitment. So it's better to do that than to show up late, in my opinion. Also, if you time out the travel, if it's possible for you to go in and do like a trial run, see how long it takes to get there, do it. If it takes an hour to get there, that's a little bit different. But I will share an app I use is called Waze, and Waze is pretty neat because it bases off the traffic patterns and different things like that, and you can actually plan out a trip beforehand. So what I do before work in the morning every day, I have it set where it's scheduled, so it tells me, traffic's really bad today, there's an accident. Okay, great, leave 10 minutes earlier. So things like that will help you so that you're not scrambling to get there on time, because then you're stressed and you're already nervous, and you want to come in there fresh and ready to go, not scrambling. So yeah, and definitely if you get lost, it happens definitely, so that's why it's good to go in and prepare and do a trial run. But if you're flying in from another state or something, that's different, that's understandable, and I think interviewers are going to be more understanding in that regard. So another thing is your appearance. So you don't want to overdress, because I've seen some people show up in a suit and tie, which isn't terrible, but at the same time it's a bit extra. Also, you don't want to show up in sweatpants because that's too casual. So you kind of want to find that balance, and that's why it's really important to do research on the company and understand their culture, because if you know their business casual, then you'll be able to get by with business casual. But that's why it's important to know the company. Coming in clean shaven is important. Look, date ready. First impressions are really important, so you want to make sure your clothes are clean, they aren't wrinkled, and these might seem like really basic things, but they're important, so you don't want to overlook them. And also, if you were in the interviewer's shoes, if you had two people come in, exact same experience, exact same resume, one of them looked really professional, the other one just kind of looked thrown together, which one would you hire? That's something that they have to think about, and you want to think about too. You want to put yourself in their shoes. So, a lot of times people just expect to go into an interview and get asked questions, but it's important to have your own list of questions. Whenever they ask you if you have questions, it's better for you to be honest. If you don't have any, if they covered everything in the interview, then that's great, but just let them know that. Let them know, I had some questions, but you've addressed them. Don't just say no, because that just seems kind of like, I'm just here. You don't want to give them that impression. And then also, you're going to want to study any material they cover, because we are in cybersecurity IT. That's something that, there are going to be a lot of technical questions. So you want to know, the OSI model. You're going to want to know pretty much anything specific to the position you're applying for. Just be prepared. And even, if you have a little notebook with your questions for the interviewer, or, for anything that you want to jot down while you're in the interview, you can even have a little cheat sheet on there, because honestly, in IT, a lot of what you're going to do, especially cybersecurity, you're going to be doing a lot of research. So having your resources there, it's not a terrible thing, but that just depends on the individual. Whatever you feel comfortable doing. But another thing too, in my experience, the job that I'm at now, I was asked a question that's meant to see how you think, how you process things, and that's pretty common in IT. They're going to want to see how you troubleshoot, because a lot of IT is going to be troubleshooting. So the question I was asked is, how much pizza do you think is consumed in the U.S. annually? And for me, I had no idea. So I went through the process, the steps that I would take to figure that out. And it's one of those things, they might ask you the same kind of question, same type of question, maybe not exactly the same, but Just depending how you answer that, it could make a big difference. And then here are some of the questions that I pulled from our Women in Cybersecurity presentation. The first one is, how would you describe your ideal job? So this is a pretty common question that they may ask you, and it just kind of gives them an idea of what you're looking for. Another one is, if you had to recruit for this position, what are the top things you would look for in a candidate? This question is going to let them know what you expect the position to do. Like, what do you think you're going to be doing in that job? Another one that I found that was kind of interesting is, why do you think manhole covers are round? And this is another one of those questions that makes you think. You know, it's not your typical question, but I think it was from Google. I can't remember which company, but it's one of those questions they ask you just to kind of to see your reaction, to see how you process it. And then another one is, how do you want the work you do to be remembered? Because this is a lot about your passion. This question really gives them a lot more information about, you know, what do you want to leave? Like, personally in cybersecurity, I mean, I want to leave my mark. And, you know, right now I'm still kind of learning the landscape, but I know that I'm here to make an impression in the cybersecurity world. And if that means helping other students, you know, that's great. So, you know, whatever that is, you know, you have to know what you're passionate about. And Vitali is here. Hi, Vitali. All right, so the hardest part's over. You know, you went through the interview. You know about the company. Everything went well, and then now what? So you wait anxiously, right? 2 days later, SpongeBob reference. Not sure if any of y'all watch SpongeBob, but sometimes it feels like that. Whenever you leave an interview, you're like, how long do I have to wait? These are questions you can ask before you leave. You know, it's completely appropriate to ask, you know, how it went. You know, you can even ask them, how did it go? And what are some things that I can do to follow up? Is there, you know, someone I can contact? How long can I expect to hear back from you? So you want to seem eager but not desperate. So it's not bad to get an estimate on the time to hear back. And also, I mean, it gives them a good indication that you're very excited about this job. So these are the pointers that I've gathered just from experience from classes. Like I said, you know, reading online, different pointers from all my mentors. And I know each individual is going to have a different experience, but hopefully I've given some good advice that you can utilize. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I know sometimes you'll have a phone interview or like a WebEx interview. I have experience with a phone interview, so you know, if you have any questions about that, if you need any advice on that, let me know. You know, comment on the Facebook page, comment on our LinkedIn page. You know, feel free to get a hold of me however you need to. And I'll share that link on there. And then also, if anyone would like this outline, if they missed any of it or if any of it wasn't clear, I can share that too if anyone wants it. So just comment, let me know. But one last thing I want to throw in before I wrap it up is not to get discouraged. So even if you don't get the job, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. You can't don't take it personal, because there might have been somebody that came in and, you know, they had 10 years experience doing the exact same thing. Don't take it personal. Don't get discouraged. You know, even if you feel like you bombed the interview, stay confident. If you don't get the job, just keep trying, because we still have a shortage in cybersecurity, and they estimate by 2022 it's going to be 1.8 million, which is a lot. So, you know, a lot of companies are starting to come around. They're starting to realize, you know, we're not going to find someone with 10 years experience, or if we do, you know, obviously, you know, they're going to have to pay for that. And a lot of companies are starting to be more realistic about what they're looking for. And that's really good for us as students, because if you can show that you don't know, you know, and that's okay to tell them too. If they ask you something and you don't know, be honest. Let them know, you know, I don't know, but I will, you know, I'll look it up. Show that you're passionate about it. Show that, you know, you're willing to learn, and you should be solid. So if any of you are interviewing soon, I wish you good luck. And if not, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And have a great summer, everybody. Thanks.